Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to the Self-Love Show. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm so happy to introduce my co-host, Dawn Light, and our special guest, Miss Antoinette Rootsdawtah. Yay! Today's show is going to be really, really special. So if you are watching, I invite you to really stick around because we shared a little bit about what's up for all three of us today, and it's going to be really heartfelt and packed full of yum. Let me read a little bit of Antoinette's bio. You've done so much in your life and in your world, and I'm so inspired by the work that you are doing currently, and I've met you a few times in some of these capacities, and I'm just watching you make amazing, beautiful waves in the world. So Antoinette is a world-renowned keyboardist in the reggae industry. You've probably heard of her. She's become involved in the spiritual community after working with Pato Banton and joining his global mission of spreading the good news that we are all God's children, brothers and sisters, which I think is so important to really remember that. Like, I think we all can, hold that close. Full of yum. Yeah, go ahead and speak about what you're doing right now in the world.
Well, basically, so I'm up here in Portland. My husband and I just arrived today. We are hosting an MLK Day of Service here in Portland on Saturday. And then when we get back on Sunday, we're hosting the same event in Lake Elsinore, California, but part of Stand Up for Justice Lake Elsinore. So ever since the riots, I became involved with the Walla Moms here in Portland, and we became Walla Moms International as we decided how we were going to be moving forward as far as working towards social justice on a yearly round, because this is something that won't be figured out or covered within a few months or a few weeks or even a few years. So our fight to end systematic racism, to continue the works and the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King, something that he started from 50 years ago, even longer, is something that we still have to continue today. And what we're trying to do is just uniting everybody, men, women, children, Black, white, no matter what color that you actually are, that we are actually standing up for each other and working with each other. And one of the things that I found out from the Glossary of Nonviolence from Dr. King Center is there's so many different ways that people can actually get involved. We take to the streets, we protest, we march, we sit in, we lobby, we call, we ask for more diversity and inclusion. We start having our dialogues with the police. We're looking for reform. There's so many different avenues that people can actually step in. And we feel like the more people we bring in this together is how we're really going to try to bring beloved community. So I'm excited about being up here in Portland to work with some of the local organizations who have the same visions and the same goals that we actually have too.
Oh, I mean, it's so necessary right now.
Yes. And then also because we're musicians, my husband and I, we've been writing some songs. So he's probably written about 3 or 4 songs during these last few months. And I have 2: Stand Up for Justice, Stand Up Strong, Dr. Martin Luther King, some of the words about building beloved community, and also just, the dreams that we hope to inspire, because even though this is a very negative and a very tumultuous time, that doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. Anytime you go into a new awakening, just like we've had the new day dawning that happened during the winter time and the solstice, it's like it really is a mass awakening and a mass merging of the people. So it's like, why aren't we, taking advantage of this and saying, yes, we can actually do something and see the light that is actually coming our way. But it's going to be dark, and it's going to be ugly, and it's going to get nasty, and it's going to get yucky and messy and stuff. But, that doesn't mean that we can't handle it and we can't actually persevere and get through, so all the woe is me and all the other stuff that's happening, is like, but there are better days and there will be better times. And we just have to sit there and work towards getting through that with the positive, with love and not hate.
Yes.
And absolutely.
Yes. Deepening our compassion for self and others, and really seeing each one of us as our own, the same. We're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just extending that compassionate heart no matter what is occurring on the outside, and reminding each soul, each person as we cross their path that yes, we are absolutely equal, and I too can hold you in this painful place that you're experiencing inside, and I can have love and compassion for you here, just as you can have love and compassion for me, and we can have love and compassion for the world and see this differently. And I love that you mentioned like that we can see the light, you know, and really allow that light to grow inside of ourselves and hold that stronger vision, right, for the world, because it is like I see it as it's all bubbling to the surface for healing. Like what's coming to the surface is meant to come right now. And yes, it is dark and it's crazy and there's a lot of crazy, chaotic things going on. But yes, we have the capacity to hold this and love it fiercely with deep compassion, like compassion of the mother is how I feel about it. So thank you for hearing my voice there in a moment. And you just inspired that whole thing to pour out of my heart by being here right now. So thank you.
They say this is the time of the mother. You know, a lot more people are starting to recognize her and seeing her energy and the feminine rise on the divine. It's on the rise. I mean, this is like, it's pretty spectacular from back in 2012 up till now. And what they're talking about, this big shift and emergence that's happening coming up. You know, women are taking positions of power in whether it's politics, whether it's in social issues, whether it's just the way that the rise is coming up, and people are starting to listen to the feminine divine, and men are starting to understand also what the feminine divine is in their own life, because it's not like it's only for women, even though we are women, but it also works in the male's life as well too. You know, we can have both, you know, and recognize and feel that energy.
Absolutely. Well said.
Thank
Something
you.
that we were talking about in the background is, yes, this is the time to actually to develop community, to really focus on the change that we can make in the world. And it is a collective, like we're doing this as a community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And something that we were talking about is, how do you stay in self-love and in self-care? How do you care for yourself and your community in these times? Because
well, you've heard that old saying,
inner work, and there's a lot of external work that needs to be done. We've got to like really, you know, hold each other up and hold ourselves up. So how do we do that?
Well, you've heard that saying that you can't take care of anybody else unless you take care of yourself. Yes. You know, so I've seen people where they've extended themselves so much to helping so many other people, which is a good thing. But if you take care of yourself and you're not well taken care of, then you will drag yourself down and you will exhaust yourself, and then you become bitter, you know, with the people that you're actually working with or who you're trying to help, because you overextended yourself. And one of the things, like Pato and I, when we were studying the Urantia book and we study about the life and teachings of Christ, was that he always said, all right, we got to take time. He went off 40 days and 40 nights by himself. And he would tell the apostles, go and do some fishing. You know, let's just take the day off today. Everybody go and fish. Everybody go and relax. Everybody go and chill. And then we'll get back to the work and the business at hand, you know, because so if you don't, for me, I would take time for writing music and just trying to connect with my inner self, to try to connect with higher, with God. Meditation and prayer always works, because if I'm totally frustrated and totally confused, if I just sit there and just look within, the answers will come. They may not be the answers I want to hear, and I might be fighting in my mind, but that's going to require so much work and everything. But it's kind of good to sit there and set that time and that space aside. And then, like, being able to say no. I think a lot of people don't know how to say no, and they always say yes. And then they get burnt out and they get overwhelmed and they get, you know, a little bit bitter, because they're like, I've said yes to so many things, but I really can't manage and handle all these things. So saying no and say, this is what I can do, and this is what I can't do. This is what I can make. This is what I can't make. And there's nothing wrong to sit there and say, I'm going to take a night off. I'm going to take a few hours off. I'm going to take the weekend off. You know, for my birthday, I wanted to do like this massive birthday. I turned 52 on January 1st. And last year I did 7 days of partying. You know, it's like, thank you. I was doing Vegas. I was doing the winery, and then I was doing a concert, and I was doing another concert and doing another show. Then I was like, okay, I'm so old. I was like, before all that stuff was so much fun. I could party all week, you know. But then I was like, I'm getting older now. What I really need is just to relax. So my husband took me to the hot springs and desert hot springs where they have the mineral pools, and they were actually open, you know, and it was amazing. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here in the salt pools and sit here all day long until I pass out, you know.
Nice.
And that was just really good to just be able to rejuvenate, to be able to get a full night of sleep, because I don't know how many people are not getting a full night of sleep. And sleep is something that's necessary and is something that's required just to rejuvenate your body, you know, for your health wise and your mental health as well too. So taking care of yourself and say, let me just pamper myself for a minute, and then I'll get back into the trenches and say, all right, let's get this party started on like what we really, really need to do and accomplish.
Birthday queens. It's my birthday too on the 2nd of January.
Hey, Capricorns.
Yes.
So you
And
know
I too do the same thing. I go to the hot spring. That's my tradition as well for my birthday every year, just because I feel like it's such a wintry time and like inward time, and everybody's kind of hungover from the holidays and the new year. So it's like I always take that opportunity to go to the hot spring. So I love that you do the same thing. That's amazing.
That's so awesome. And you know, because the Korean spas are closed here in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And I love the Korean spas. I'm like, I cannot wait for them to open, because I will go there and veg out for the day.
Yes.
Clock in at 9 a.m., clock out at 10 p.m. I'm going to stay there and sit in the pink Himalayan salts till my face has got marks from laying on the mats the whole day. And
I love that place so much. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's my favorite. But it's good. The Korean spas.
Oh, well, I've been to
the women's one
in LA because I also like that. I think we have some hot water going on here. These ladies like to get themselves some hot water.
Yeah.
Self-care does involve hot water or a hot sauna for me. Like anytime I feel out of alignment, I have an infrared sauna at home, and I bought it for this reason, because I knew that like that connection to sweating and praying is such a I have Native American Indian blood in my family, and so it connected to me so deeply when I found it, and so many years ago. And so I've done sweats in my life, and so I was like, okay, this is my modern day personal version of this. I don't need much. I just need one little box that gets hot, and I can go get it and listen to as many meditations or guided visualizations and just lock in and really deepen my relationship with God and get the answers, you know, and because everyone has the answers within. So it's just taking that time when I feel out of sorts or out of center. It's either a bath, a shower, or the sauna.
That's amazing, because I think I've heard that about the sweat lodges with the Native Americans. So with the Koreans, they have the different room temperatures of 105, 110, 130, 140, 150. I mean, 150 or 160 degrees, either in clay or Himalayan salt or charcoal or gold properties. Then they give you a little list that tells you which each one of the properties does as far as detoxing, you know, because, you know, if you're someone who like me who parties a lot, I have to detox. You know, I have to detox from the inside and get all the impurities out from the inside. And then it gives me also a chance to sit there and just think and reflect, you know, and be able to come back stronger, because, oh, that's very good. This is lemon. We brought our own ginger lemon that we juiced, 100% ginger and lemon, the raw, the super, super concentrate, which I call it the cure for everything, because it helps with all the bacteria, with viruses, with colds, with boosting your immune system, with, you know, so it's my daily drink.
Good for you.
What I'm really loving about this conversation right now is that you both have really clear understanding of what works for you, like in your self-care and what brings you back to alignment. And, you know, I do believe in the balance of the whole world. So like some days we've all been in quarantine for, I don't even know at this point, like we're over 9 months, we're pushing almost a year. And, you know, some of us used, you know, dancing and parties and socializing as a way to really release a lot of pressure. I mean, even just last night, I was like so stressed out and then like moving through some stuff that I was like, I'm going to have a couple drinks. And I laughed so hard with my little quarantine here on this property. I laughed so hard, I cried. And then my best friend made me sign up for a loan while she was all sassy.
Wow.
I'm signing up for this loan. I hope it looks okay in the morning. Like, it was just the funniest thing. And it's, again, it's not about, you know, being healthy and doing these things all the time, because you gotta get out and you gotta shake it up and you gotta party a little bit and then you gotta detox to retox and do the whole human thing, right?
Exactly. That makes a lot of sense, because when the COVID first started, my husband and I, we were traveling all year round around the world, you know, so they locked us down for 9 months of not being able to go anywhere. And so the first month we were sitting there, and I think and I went live, I probably went through a whole bottle of wine and wrote a song and it was actually a pretty good song. I thought it was kind of brilliant, but that's the mood that I was in, you know, at that time. And then I just go through different phases each time. I'm either going to work a lot, or I'm going to either work hard, play hard, or just do nothing hard. You know, everything comes out in the end.
Exactly. I've been playing with this thought recently that's in our spiritual communities, we talk about practicing whatever it is. And I've been really thinking about, you know, actually the only thing I'm practicing is being human. Because it's really like, if I can drop it from like, I don't need to practice yoga or breath work or whatever the thing is, like, yes, that's a practice, but I'm actually practicing being more compassionate, being human, and being in that whole spectrum of human experience. I don't want to just like, if I wanted to live in a temple and just be meditative all the time, then I would do that. But I actually like to get messy, and I like to be human, and I like to, you know, emote and do all the human stuff. So it's like, if I can just drop that back into practicing being human.
That's a really, really good point, because the way that I look at it in the spiritual community is that if I was a monk, you know, just being good in the caves and praying and meditating all day, I wouldn't actually have the experience of choosing good over evil as in living as a human. Because in order for human experience is like, given the choice is like, I choose to do God's will, or I choose not to do God's will. But I can't make those choices if I'm not dealing with any of the experiences at all. When people take themselves out of the experience, how do they get the chance to practice and to keep trying and trying and trying, and just being like, okay, you know, this is now becoming a habit of being good to other people. But if I can't be good to other people if I'm not dealing with other people, that means you gotta sit there and put yourself in uncomfortable situations that are ugly, situations that are nasty, situations where you're dealing with kind of weird vibes and weird energies. It's like, well, how do you actually handle? So the more experience, so as messy as it gets, as bad as it gets, and how many times that you fall and you falter, you know, or you fail and you falter, it will give you the opportunity to sit there and say, okay, I could have done this better, or done it this way, or I'm learning from these experiences. And I think that kind of helps in your own spiritual growth. You know, so I'm kind of like one of the other weird spiritualists, because the way me and Pato is, he's the one who's always good all the time, you know, you know, and it's very natural for him. And for me, I go through the natural workings. I enjoy, you know, messing up in life and learning from that. And I enjoy, and I tell him, I was like, you think I'm bad now? You forgot who I was 10 years ago from Brooklyn, you know, that used to tell everybody to F off and stuff. You know, I was like, I've come a long way from 10 years ago to where I am today. I'm not necessarily where I really want to be, but I'm not going to apologize for actually, like, I can see the growth that's actually happening. It might be a slow growth, but at least it's some type of small, consistent growth. And I'm learning as I'm growing and achieving and being with people and having these, you know, these different ways and stuff.
Yes.
You know?
I'm really hearing you say so loud and clear that you're learning, and you've learned over the years to really, everything is a powerful opportunity. That it's not black and white, right or wrong, good or bad, that it's actually just an opportunity to seize the moment and allow yourself to do God's work, no matter what it is. Right. And like, that's what it is. It's an opportunity. And when you give yourself over to like seeing it through like the eyes of the spiritual scientist, right? That you can see it through curiosity and love, no matter what's unfolding. And then you're open to the reality of allowing the higher forces to work through you, God's will to work through you, because you're not shut down to it, judging it like right or wrong, black or white, good or bad. You're kind of just more open, like, what is this opportunity in this crazy dynamic going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's one of my favorite quotes too from the Urantia book is, what you are today is not so important as what you are becoming day by day into eternity. So it's like,
beautiful.
I'm not going to beat up myself. You know, there's no reason for beating. It's like, because I won't be able to progress and move forward. So it's like, take that lesson, learn that lesson, keep moving forward. Every little bit and strive is something that's growing your soul, growing your personality, growing for what your future self is actually going to become.
Gorgeous. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, it feels so good to hear that.
I'd like to invite anybody who's watching right now to type in how are they staying centered in this pandemic and crazy political climate that we live in, and if you want to share. And I'd also like to bring the conversation back a little bit to something that, like, I take notes most of the time, and something that you'd said about people don't actually know what their yes is or their no is, and they'll overstep their own boundaries. And I wanted to talk just a little bit about that. And I also, well, first, before I go there, we also were talking about hot water and those things. And everyone has their own, the things that benefit their body and their mind and their spirit, whether it's getting deep, deep sleep. If you're exhausted, take a day to really do that deep rest, whatever that looks like, whether it's sitting in the bathtub or, sleeping or just lazing around without feeling guilty. Just allow yourself that deep physical rest. Because I don't know Dawn and I talk about this a lot, that this physical plane, this existence is made of matter. And this matter is heavy. Dragging this matter around is heavy. I mean, I don't know how much this cup weighs, but it's actually pretty heavy. And to manifest this is actually a lot of work.
It's like
Give yourself a break. Yeah, you're like, oh God, it's so heavy. But I mean, like, whatever the matter that we're working through and manifesting on this physical plane is actually kind of exhausting, and you gotta let your spirit and your brain rest. Like, just allow yourself to rest, whatever that looks like. Getting into a deep book or whatever. And I also wanted to just, I used to have deep PTSD triggers, like relational PTSD triggers, and I would get so wound up and tight and freaked out and afraid that the only thing that would help is a 2-hour shower. I would literally sit in the shower with my hands on the wall and just sit there with the water running down across me, and I'm just breathing and being warm. And that would take me 2 hours to get into a place where my body felt safe and relaxed again. So it's not like these things that we're talking about as you're listening, you all, is that it's really about finding the things that work for you, right? So if you're in anxiety and frustration, what are the things that actually work for you, and how can you work it out? I've also come up with a couple tips and tools for people who are depressed. Is like, if we can actually take the bar of what success looks like. So my bar of success, if you're really depressed and you're feeling the winter blues, did you take a shower? Did you brush your teeth? And did you eat today? And if you got those things, you fucking won the day. Woo! You won. So just like, as the winter comes on and as there's so many things that are happening in the world, it really is like, how can you redefine your success, as well as being really kind and compassionate to yourself? Because you surely wouldn't be like, if someone I knew, like if one of you was depressed and I called you up and you were like, well, I didn't do anything today, would I go, oh my God, I can't believe you, like whatever internal thought process you would run on yourself? I wouldn't be like that. I'd be like, oh my gosh, how can I help you? What would best serve you today? How can we best love you up in a way that just supports where you're at, not needing to change anything, but just loving you and being compassionate with you right now. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, Thanks for hearing that. And I also just wanted to go back to how to feel what your fuck yes is and how to feel what your no is.
Well, yeah, I'm a very blunt woman, so I will just tell people just straight up, yes, no, absolutely no, and why? You know, I think people. Another thing that I feel with people who are yes people, a lot of times they don't want to be honest because they don't want to hurt people's feelings on why. You know, and I'd rather just tell people the truth. You know, just tell them the truth. You know why, and or tell them you're busy or whatever, but whatever you have to do, but communication is good. You know, I think when I moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, I just noticed this weird trend of people just not being honest with other people and saying, well, I can't make it, or they just don't say anything at all, you know. And it's like, just say whether you can make it or you can't make it, or I want to do it or I don't want to do it. It's just not even communicating at all. You know, it's like that to me is like the worst thing is no communication. It's like, just say, I can take it. I'm a grown woman. You can sit there and say, I do want to help or I don't want to help, or I do want to be there or I don't want to be there, or I have to do something, or lie to me, but just say something instead of just disappearing like you don't see any of my messages, any of my emails, any of my texts, anything. You know, you know, it used to drive me crazy with the band because I'm like, I see all of you on your phones, you know.
I know you're there.
I know you're there. So
Right. Yes.
respond to me, say yes or no, a Y or N.
The culture of ghosting is annoying.
It is. Non-action is an action.
Yes.
Absolutely. It is an action and it is a choice.
Yes.
You know, so I think so anybody dealing with me, just say yes or no, and I'm good with that. You know, and you don't have to tell me any reasons. You don't have to owe me any explanations. Just say yes or no, and I'm okay.
I think that there's a culture built around shaming people for not taking care of. So there's I've thought about this a lot. Okay, so I'm just gonna rant for a moment about the social construct of belonging. So for me to belong with you, I'm supposed to overextend myself as something for you. Like, I have to show up for Antoinette and I have to show up for Dawn, or I'm not going to get their respect. And unfortunately, like that's been the 50s style belief for a very long time. Luckily, what we're doing now and what we're doing, I mean, and I do want to point to, yes, there is this thing on the West Coast and in California that people don't want to actually be blunt and direct, which is, I at this point, I think that being direct, you don't have to be brutal. You can be just direct. Like, I have no time, or whatever it is that you have, you need to say, but being direct about your truth is actually way more honorable and loving. You're not fawning, which is actually kind of technically abusive when you're like, oh yes, I can show up and I have zero plans in showing up, right? Like that's
fakey.
Well, that's dishonest. You're being dishonest with yourself and the other person when you do that. You know what I mean? Just be honest with your capacity. Do I have the capacity to hold this in my life right now? Is this in alignment with my true intentions and purpose work right now? And if it's not right now, then you can say, I am a yes, but I'm a yes maybe 4 months out or 6 months out, right? Like, I just had an invitation actually that I had to do this with. I was like, I'm a yes, but the project I'm working on right this moment is of urgent matter and I need to focus on that, and then I'll be a yes to this.
Yes. And we've talked about this a lot, Dawn. Like, I'm a yes, and I'm a yes, and so I wanted to just drop this piece in for everybody watching, just because I love to give tools for people who are participating and paying attention. How to feel your yes and how to feel your no. And I invite you to actually just like drop into your body when someone asks you something like, do you want cupcakes? Okay, maybe this isn't. I have these random ones all the time. Gosh, do you want a dog? we'll use this because I would love a dog. And my whole body is like, oh, no, like my whole body pulls back. Right. So really listening to your body about where your yes is. Do you have comfort? Do you have discomfort or comfort or discomfort in your abdomen? Like your body is inherently knowing what your truth is. So if you have discomfort or something that's not sitting right, when you say yes and you're saying it against your inner feeling, like that's actually, you're abandoning yourself there, and you're also not being honest. So if I'm like, yes, I want to do that because my logical brain is saying, yes, I want to do whatever I want to do with Don and Antoinette, but my body is like, no, then I'm still pushing forward because my logical brain tells me that's what I should do. And guess what happens there? Burnout. That's what happens.
Well, anytime you have should come forward in your mind's frame, it's your ego.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime the shoulds start to pile on and you start to have a story around I should, then that's the ego showing up. So it's a good pointer of like, oh, am I listening to, like, what is the truth here? Like, what is my truth in this situation? Do I need to pause or do I need to move forward? Like, what is the truth? And then you get out of alignment with that should part, you really start to lean in and listen to your true intuition, which is God inside.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that when you said about the should and other stuff, and a lot of times when I feel like a lot of things that I get invited to or participate in, I'm saying yes, and then later it's like, oh, I'm these different things are coming up, but it turns from the should into the want. It's like, I want to. There's a reason why I want to be there. And I always used to tell people that within our ministry when we're doing things, it's like the reason why we show up and we are congregating together, especially for spirituality and fellowship, is because it's so lifting. You know, so it's so lifting, and I get lifted. I get spiritually motivated. That is like, it's my fuel for fire. And it puts the fire underneath my butt. It's like, get out there and continue on. Anytime you're doing service is a fuel of fire, because people don't sit there and think about it. Oh, this is just going to do this to me or do that to me. And it's like, I can tell you right now, anytime that you're serving people or serving the community, it will get you out of your funk. It will get you out of your mind funk, out of your body funk. And it'll give you like that natural spiritual Red Bull energy for you to go out there and continue to do whatever you have to do. So the should turns into wanting. It's like, I want to do this because I know how important it is, not just for myself, not just for other people, but maybe in a selfish way for myself, because it actually feeds my soul. So if I'm going to grow and my soul is going to grow, then I need to show up and I need to be present and I need to be there.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
beautiful. Well said.
I do truly believe that Mother Teresa did a lot of things because it made her feel good. Not necessarily because she was just like the most compassionate human on the planet. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that like taking care of children who don't have parents and need deeper love, that feels good. Like when we show up on our call, there's some days where I'm like, oh God. But when we show up on this call, I know that there's people who are getting things out of it. Like people send us messages and say, wow, that show really touched me. And
did you hear about some of the things about the negativity surrounding her? Because there was letters that she was writing. She was actually getting quite depressed, And when I've seen some like different things, like different movies about her story and different other things, like they were talking about, she was losing her faith. And I think that is because she was being such a yes woman, and because she devoted all of her time 24/7, 7 days a week. It's like, even she needs to get away and just go to the beach for a while and just be able to think and connect with God again and sit there and say, let me step away from this and let me trust because she was able to build so much and to start that whole thing with the nuns and everything else to help. And it's like she had to learn to be able to trust and take over and allow them to be able to support the work that she has started and been able to do. But she never stepped away from it. And I think when people do that and then they get a little bit of burnt out, that's when they lose a little bit of faith and get a little bit depressed, because they're doing so much. And it's like, okay, sometimes you have to turn it over to other people and trust and have the faith that they can actually carry on the work. You know, even now to this day, you know, the amount of nuns and that are working within the church, continuing the work. I mean, she was a mover and a shaker. She took on the Rome single-handedly, you know. She's like,
Wow.
listen, I got to do this. I have to do this. You're going to give me what I need in order for me to do this, because we have to take care of. They were never even thinking about that type of service. But she saw the work that was needed and said, we have to do this. And it didn't stop her. It just motivated her to sit there and say, don't get angry, get busy.
That's such a truth bomb.
Yes, it is. This so reminds me of, like, Trish and I talk about this a lot, actually, and it's really like the deep reminder of the way the divine feminine is working through us now. Is it's not that driving masculine push forward any longer, how we're kind of coming out of that wave energy of how we've existed for so long, of just ignoring our spiritual self-care. Right. And that's such an important part. So now it's really like, how can I integrate and balance this in my life so that I can keep, and the energy behind everything I'm doing is so much more impactful and so much more momentum, because it's concentrated and it's focused and it's balanced with that deep self-care, which is really aligning ourselves always to like the spiritual alignment. So that's something that we speak about a lot. And like, I've been actually writing an entire program based on that very core principle of like helping women realign to this place inside so that they just are potent.
Inspired work will always be more impactful and profound than obligated work. It's just,
yes.
So showing up in obligation, it's just going to be resentment and exhaustion and that's a very masculine approach. The should is in the masculine a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The inspired approach, the divine aligning time frames, like, oh, this is just gonna, like, that's the feminine approach. Moving an hour, 1 hour, that's in the divine. Like, oh yeah, I got some fluidity. That's the feminine movement and the truth. Because now, I mean, we moved 1 hour today, and look at how amazing this conversation is. There's people watching and getting a lot out of how to stay centered and balanced and hear and really in our truth.
Yes.
Be in our divine love.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I learned about regarding the mother spirit was that she had these mind spirits. One, besides the spirit of courage and the spirit of wisdom, was the spirit of intuition. I didn't know that. And it's like, okay, now that we're discovering her more and more, I always thought it's like, all right, your first instinct actually was the correct instinct. You know, something was gnawing at you and letting you know that something is wrong and maybe you shouldn't go down this road or down this whatever, then don't do it, then actually do that. So once I realized that, all right, it's like, I'm going to start to follow that a lot more. I'm going to start listening to that inner self. I'm going to start listening to what she's been trying to tell me. She offers these gifts to everybody, you know, so follow through. And education, so they always say a pint can only hold a quart, but the more that we open ourselves to more knowledge and more understanding will also kind of help us in our own spiritual and soul growth, because we know and we're learning and not just like, I don't know. And it's like, but you can know. You know, so you can know, you can hear, just like you said, you have the Love Coach, you know, Academy and all these different resources and all these different things are made available to people. It doesn't have to be, I don't know. There are people who do know and they can tell you what works for them. It may not necessarily work for you, but it can at least give you different ideas on what you can find that actually works for you to sit there and help grow yourself. But you can't be able to grow or do anything alone by yourself. You can do internal work, but it also takes to work with other people supporting you and giving you different ideas and giving you different ideologies or philosophies, and that's all that works. No,
it's so true.
It's so true. We need each other.
Oh.
Work together, support one another, and lift everyone up.
Yes, yes, and that's the other thing too. So
spiritual.
Self-care, I think, is important. Self-care is important for people to also feel like it's okay to reach out to people. You know, a lot of people feel like they don't want to bother people and they don't want to dump their problems or other things. But I know that everybody would want somebody to be there for them. And for the 99% of the time, people have no problem being there for you. You just have to ask. You know, if you ask God for help, we will also tell you, ask people to help too. Ask them to be there for you and ask them to listen to you, because they will be there, instead of just taking things all inside and just like, oh, nobody cares. People do care, and it's not selfish to sit there and say, I need support. I need some love. I need someone to show me that they care, and some love too.
It's actually not giving someone an opportunity to serve you if you don't speak up and say, hey, I'm vulnerable right now. I have a need in this way, and you can make a request anytime in your life with anything, and it's like, it gives others an opportunity to serve. And we all are just loving that. We love to serve, as women, as a mother, as a best friend, as a lover, like all the things we love to show up and serve, like every person does. Because it's like getting out of your own way and allowing spirit to move through. It feels so good to have that happen. So when someone doesn't speak up, when you don't speak up for yourself and say, hey, I'm feeling this way or whatever, would you mind assisting me in this way? People are ready to.
Sometimes.
Well, at least give them the opportunity to say no.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So the power of requesting for your needs to be met is that it often gives an opportunity for deeper intimacy. And sometimes the person who you ask might not be ready for that, right? It might not be ready for that level of intimacy or connection, right? My previous partner and I, we came up with this thing called consensual conversations. Which just doesn't sound like very, very far off, but it really was like, Antoinette, I have this deep thing that really has been up on my mind. Do you have capacity to show up for me and to listen right now? And so I'm literally calling you in already in that place. Do you have space? And sometimes you'd be like, actually, I am way out for the next day. Can we do it tomorrow at 5 p.m.? And I have 4 hours for you or 2 hours for you. And that really created the container for this intimate sharing. And I've taken that with me throughout my friendships and my relationships and my coaching. And I think that that's also an important piece. I'd also like to just say, because I know that, there has been some people sharing, and it's like, yes, the problem is it's hard to ask. And sometimes we get told no by that person multiple times. Sometimes you have to ask someone else to show up. There's other places, like, I'm not suggesting that you go outside your relationship to do anything that's not in your agreements. Like, that's not okay. Honoring your agreements is really important. And you do have to say, like, hey, I need some emotional support somewhere here or there, or like, I need to go and walk on the beach or go to the spa or something that, and I don't know, I can't ask you because I know that you don't want that. So where can I get that need met? So getting your needs met is really important. If you can't do it yourself, asking for someone else and being brave in that ask, even if it's going to be a no, like being brave and courageous. And coming from the place, I really want to actually, coming from the place of getting, like, not the, I need you to do this exact thing the way that I need you to do this exact thing. But coming from the place of, like, I want my need for connection or belonging to be met. Is there a way that you can show up for me in that way? So instead of coming to you like, oh, I really need you to put the left shoe on your right foot and hop around while patting your cheek just for me to know that I belong. You the opportunity to show up. So asking for it in a way that gives you your own creativity. Did that all make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Okay.
It does. So, and that's the thing, is like, sometimes you can just be vague and be like, I need you. And then whoever shows up, then we say, all right, we can get into, like, what are the needs that you need me for, or anything else like that. But just that ask, I always, like, I ask Facebook all the time. I always tell my husband, I was like, oh, he needs this or that, or someone to come through. I'm like, let's just ask Facebook and see who bites. That's pretty amazing. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
It's all good. We all have our needs, like Don was saying, the need to be able to be in that supportive role. Like, I want to serve, and I want to serve the people that I love. There's some asks that I can't, like, if someone said drive across the country right now and do this thing for me, I would have to say no. But if someone said, do you have an hour just to see me in my full vulnerability and just hold me in compassion? I have so much of that. Like, yes.
Yep.
So, gosh, this conversation.
And it's also, you know, discerning with our intuition exactly who's the highest and best choice to ask for support. You know, like when COVID hit, I had a really crazy situation come down the pipeline where like my computer got stolen and all my things got stolen from me. And then I had to get on a plane like the next day and leave. And it was interesting, right? And so I, like, instead of freaking out, I was very calm, and I just trusted, and I knew that this was meant to happen this way and that everything was going to be fine. And I went back after I filed the police report. I went back to the hotel and I laid on the bed and I put my hand on my heart and I said, I just can so give myself love right here, and that this is enough. And then I just was praying and I said, okay, Spirit, who is the highest and best for me to call right now for support? And I asked myself that inside, and I sat and I listened deeply, and Spirit gave me Trish's number. Spirit was like, call Trish. I already had her number. But so I leaned in with Trish, and it was like a miracle occurred. Literally, like, COVID hit, and then one door closes and one door opens, literally. And this is right after I had a very profound dream that night I had a dream of like climbing on a mountain of physical objects, making Tetris a way out of nothing. Literally making a way out of nothing. And I looked down and it was like all these people struggling to climb. And I was like, ooh, I just need to lean in right now to Spirit and make this climb happen. And I just climbed so high in my dream that I literally became a purple electrical current in my dream. And then I turned around and beamed all the energy down to all the eyeballs, and I saw nothing but eyeballs. And I woke up and then went to the gym and like went around, and my stuff was stolen out of my car. My computer was stolen, and then boom, I was gone from that reality, never to go back. That was my beginning of my COVID experience, like end of my journey. What is it?
Did you get your stuff back?
No. I've gotten it back in so many other ways, though. Like, right? Like, Spirit has blessed me.
Conversation is that Dawn calls me, and I said, "Let's start a show."
Well, the crazy thing is I didn't even make it home from the airplane, and I was online with Scott Katamas and Trish being introduced to Love Coach Academy, and then bam, 2 weeks later, we had the Self-Love Show.
That's
awesome.
So, just to point back to Dawn's awesome share right now is like listening to oneself, actually, like your body and your spirit really know what's up. It knows what's up. It knows how to listen and how to push in. If you just, again, going back to what Antoinette said earlier, meditate and pray. Like, if you go back to that place, that's the place where you get to hear your innermost truth, your innermost truth, God's innermost truth, Spirit's innermost truth.
Pato.
Yeah.
And sometimes saying, if you are not getting a clear yes in that moment, like if somebody's really like, hey, can you do, you know, and it's a timely manner, and you're not like really able to say yes or no, you say, hold on a minute. I need to really like lean into myself and get the answer. Can I give you the answer in 10 minutes? You know, that's another response, you know what I mean? And like listening and leaning in and getting that clear discernment inside is everything. Because then it works out for the highest and best good in your life. Because you're really leaning into Spirit, trusting Spirit's direction.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You got to trust the intuition, trust the Spirit, trust God, have faith, you know, and that's pretty amazing. And I hate it when stuff gets stolen or other like bad negative things, you know. I always do look for something better. Like there's something else. It's not about what I lost, you know. Yeah. I got to look for whatever blessings I'm about to receive. It's coming. It's coming.
It is. And it has, like, the year has been incredible, and like I didn't look back. I just kept moving forward and leaned in, and like it's just been exponential growth And like, there's so many silver linings through the experience, and it's because I wasn't attached and I let go, and everything, like the computer I'm on now is like, it's all been blessed, you know, and so there's nothing missed in that experience, you know what I mean?
It's a
like
better computer. And it's a better computer.
It was an upgrade completely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I don't know why I felt so called to share that in the moment. It was like leaning in, the opportunity to lean in when something really crazy is happening, to lean in and give yourself the moment to listen to spirit for the guidance, right? Of like, okay, I'm not going to panic and just call this like random person. I'm going to lean in and really say, who's the highest and best right now for me to talk to? And bam, I got the name.
Mm-hmm.
And I acted upon it.
Mm-hmm. And for the ladies who are watching, you know, in the Daughters of the Divine Mother group and stuff, you know, and one of the reasons I created that group was because I said, I know so many amazing and powerful women in their own right, in their own ways. Doesn't matter what they do. You know, some are people who are working at the UN, you know, for refugees. And then there's women who are just amazing mothers. There's just so many, but either way, they're all just amazing women, and that they can turn to each other for support. And they can turn to each other to lift up the other women as well, too, because if we don't do it for each other, then nobody else will, you know. So, you know, the coming together in that support, I encourage and hope that other women know that we are all here for each other. And other women that need, you know, some self-coaching love on yourself, you know, come to Trish, you know, come to Dawn. They're here. They're here for you, to help you, just like all the other women who have been offering their different gifts to the world. You know, it's like, here's how to sit there and come out from the little girl into the women that we're supposed to be. You know, I wasn't always this way. I didn't always have the same confidence growing up. You know, I was a minority. I was being discriminated upon. I felt less than. And I had to really just come into my own and just sit there and say, I am somebody. I am worth something. And I'm not letting society dictate or define me, even though if I did have racist teachers or racist upper authority figures or something, I knew that I was somebody special. And one day, you know, people would recognize that, but I had to start believing in myself. But I can imagine for so many young girls, that's why that whole term, Black girl magic, you know, it's like they all got the magic, but for so long they weren't told, because I was getting white Barbie dolls year after year after year after year, you know, from my own Black family. But it's just like, but even for them, it's like, it's the society and it's the culture that is like telling us or letting us know. So that's why, like, how we're being presented, how we're being included, you know, whether it's TV or media or other stuff, it's like we have to have something to look forward. If not, then we really have to depend on ourselves, you know. And it's really hard for people who will just have the strength and the courage to sit there and find their own inner light, to let that shine. But it's there within every single human being on this planet.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Well said. Yes, yeah. It is true. And then this leads into a powerful thing, right? It's like, okay, well, what is covering up that, like, what trauma is covering up that light that you're not able to stand in your inner confidence, where you can speak confidently about your experience in life and about your spiritual curriculum, about your story, about your life path. Own it. Own all of it, right? Because that's the freedom and liberation is in that, when you stand inside of your own life experience and story and say, this is me, this is all of me, this is where I've come from, this is who I'm becoming, this is me. And do it with confidence. But sometimes it takes like peeling away the deeper layers of the traumas that have occurred in our lives, because there's gems and jewels and treasures inside that deep spiritual learning. It happened for a reason. There's a reason underneath it, and to lean in with curiosity and explore it, right? Like, for me, it was like I always saw my life as very oppressed. I had a lot of oppression that I experienced from a very tyrannical style dad, father, and child abuse, and actually even experienced, hatred against, colored people in my own childhood. And I had to break away from that and say, no, thank you. That is not how I believe. And like, I have healed that paradigm inside of myself by being that way, right? And stepping into that. And like, there is no separation. I see us all as one. And the beautiful thing is like leaning into my own place inside, where I always viewed it as very oppressed, but really it was me choosing to oppress my own light. And when I leaned in and said, I will not do this anymore, I will not see it as I'm denied, right? That was a huge, I laid down lifetimes of what felt like oppression and slavery by being willing to break through that in myself through my own curriculum. And so that's why I chose to be a self-love coach, is because if I can do it, anyone can do it, right? And it's like we all have this beautiful story that's magically woven, that's ours, that's our birthright. We've come here to work through it. And there's powerful intention and prayers and magic and jewels and gems inside of each soul that has come here to live their most sacred life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Amen to that.
And we get to do it together.
And I love how you said if you can, anybody can. And it's so true. Anybody can come from any type of circumstance and then come into their higher self. You know, it's not always going to be easy, and it's not always going to be quick for some. It might take longer for others, but it's still there and it's still achievable. It's still like within reach, you know, to sit there and like go for it. And if you need help in order to go for it, then call me, call on your friends and say, I need help to sit there and just see, you know, find my bigger self and everything else like that. It's like, we got each other. If we don't have each other's back, nobody else is going to. So, you know, and I also realize too, the more you give to people, some people think like, I've helped this person out so many times. This person is so needy. And then when I need something, they're nowhere to be found. You know, so, and I want people to understand that sometimes the person that you help all the time does not have to be the person that will help you in the long run, whether it's money, time, or advice. It's like you will receive a blessing somewhere else from somebody else that you've never, ever done anything for. You know, that blessing will show up coming from somewhere else. So it always equals out and it always balances. Do not have to look that you help somebody, that person has to help you right back. Somebody else is going to help you. No matter what, whether it's them or somebody else, but it's always going to come. So not look at it that way. Don't help them because they never help, you know.
Powerful, because you really don't know who they're helping when you're not around. They are helping and extending in the way they can, you know, and it's really like letting go of that limiting perspective or those limiting glasses that we may see through, like what you were saying, like always helping that one person and then expecting it from that one person. And it's like, no, that's so limiting, like Creator, right? Like Creator makes the stars, the moon, the galaxies, everything. So why would you want to limit your possibility of how you can receive? There's infinite possibilities.
There are infinite possibilities. And the other thing too is that sometimes when people see people who are strong, like people see Pato and myself as very strong couple, strong people. They don't need anything. You know, they don't need any moral support. They don't need any mental support. They don't need any financial support. They don't need, it's like, you don't know anything. You know, appearances can be deceiving. You just never know. Sometimes just call on a brother and a sister and say, you know something, are you okay? How are you holding up and how are you doing or whatever, you know, so we receive some, but they just always assume that everybody's always okay, but you just never know unless you ask, you know. I'm not one to say anything much because I'm always figuring I can figure things out. I will try to figure things out first before I ask anybody else. You know, and then when it comes down to it, or I'm just saving up for like that get out of jail free card or that one token, like, okay, there's one time I'm going to ask, this is the big one, you know, I'm going to need your help here. So saving it for that later time, you know.
I so resonate with that.
Yes.
When we teach a lot of self-sourcing. That's what's good. Self-sourcing. See if you can meet your own needs first, and then if you're like coming from a place where you're self-sourcing and where you're meeting your needs and then asking, making a powerful request to get your needs met, like you generally it's received very differently. So if I'm coming like fully just empty, which is okay. If I'm coming fully empty, but I have had the opportunity to really be like, okay, I can meet my sense of connection and belonging and whatever the things that I might need. And then I come to Dawn and be like, okay, I've done all these things and I still need you to pet my head and tell me that I'm a good girl. Tell me I did good today, all right? Oh God, see, you know, and then the external connection piece, right? So, but that generally is better received than when I'm just like dragging my amoeba self across the universe and being like, put me back together, right? So I'm really, the get out free card is like, I so resonate with that. I save it up. Who else saves it up for like, I'm going to need it big someday. So hold on.
This is profound. I feel like letting go of the belief of consciousness of like the other shoe is going to drop in life, right? Like letting go, shedding that misidentification that we don't have to hold that in our consciousness. Like, oh, something's lurching around the corner, like allowing spirit to really like fully support us in surrendering that. Because the golden age is upon us, you know what I mean? We're entering into, yes, it's crazy times coming forward because it's all coming to surface to heal, but life is exponentially going to get so much better and so much more aligned.
You know that, what is it they say about fear is something evidence appearing real or something?
False evidence appearing real.
False evidence, right. So now also too, because everybody, if some people are watching and it's like, look at them with all the love and whatever, the world's on fire, what are they talking about? And I'm sure I'm probably hearing some people on Facebook saying that or thinking that, and it's like, do you not see what's happening? I do see, so just for those who are watching and think that I do not know or I do not see, and people telling me to be safe or whatever, I totally understand everything that is happening around me 24/7. I see exactly what's happening around me. I don't fear anything because there's nothing that can be done to me that is not, there's nothing that can be done to me unless I'm putting myself in certain situations. There's certain things I have to be aware of. Just being a Black person in America, you have to be aware of your surroundings and certain situations, just because I've always known there's been a target on my back. Back in the 80s, they thought I was a conspiracy theorist. I said, they're trying to kill us. They're trying to kill Black people. Nah, you're just tripping. I was like, no, I'm telling you, there's a lot of things that are designed and working a certain way, and nobody's listening. Now everybody's listening. After the events of last week, everybody's now paying attention. I was like, I'm not surprised. Why are you surprised?
Yeah.
Why are you surprised? Why are you surprised about the police? Why are you surprised about the government? Why are you surprised about any of these things? I'm not surprised. We've been saying this for a very long time. And no, I'm not staying in my house and I'm not hiding. They beat up that Black woman in Los Angeles. 40, 50 people beat her up.
Yep.
Mashed her on the ground in front of hundreds of people. This is Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not like, Proud Boy territory. It's LA, where I live is like more Trump country or something. And I'm like, but I'm not going to hide in my house. I'm not hiding from any perceived threats. I'm not hiding from whatever. Look at all of them. It's like, so people can start threatening and now everybody's like on guard and whatever. It's like, that's what they want me to do, is to run and hide and to be afraid of people or to be afraid of things. But there's nothing that anybody can do to me or say to me that is going to stop me from still smiling and still loving myself and still loving everybody else out there too, because love is stronger than hate. Good does overcome through evil. I was not worried. I wasn't thinking about nothing because I'm like, all those dark ages always comes into light ages, so we're just going through a lot of different dramatic changes, but the light is coming. And it's coming because more people are waking up, more people are shining their light, more things are actually happening. So why, I'm not going to get all bogged down with all the negativity with whatever, but we can preserve light and all the negativity in Portland. It's like they keep bringing up Portland. I'm like, I've been to Portland before because I've come up here before during the right after with the riots, even though they demonstrate and have protested the entire time straight. There's still a lot of beautiful things going on that people do not see. They do not see the people helping the community. They do not see, how the people are helping the community inside and outside. They're not seeing the love that's being shown for each other. They're not seeing the relationships that are being built. They're not seeing like not only the political changes, but the social changes that are constructing and being constructed around. People aren't seeing the changes that are happening around the country as well, too. There's a lot more positive changes besides the negative changes that had to have happened that are going to happen in order for people to realize that change needed to happen and become. If we start focusing, so this week I'm not hiding inside. I'm also not running to go and meet up with nobody to go and get in fights with people. Yes. That's not my thing. That's not my place to be over there and be, It's like, we have police for that. We have government for that. We have things for those things. I don't need to go up there. And that was the problem with the Proud Boys. They thought they could be the police, and they thought they could be the military. Well, now the police and the military can go and do their jobs and deal with them, so that's not my job to do that.
No.
My job is to sit there and say, like, here's how we move forward as humanity. Here's how we progress forward as humanity. Here's how we lift our brothers and sisters, because we want a more progressive America, including all people. And by working and organizing with all people, with all of our brothers and sisters who sit there and see, like, I see a brighter day. I see a beautiful America. I see a place of inclusivity. I see so many things that are happening. I can see these things. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not talking to angels or whatever. If they're talking to me, I don't know about it. But somewhere in this communication, something beautiful and positive are happening, and these changes are slow. But they're only slow because we're all sitting on our butts. So let's get off of our butts and, like, get involved to make beautiful changes happening. Dr. King's message that's happening this entire weekend, that everybody's going to be talking about, his philosophy, is that we cannot be shallow in our understanding. We can't be shallow in the works that we're doing. And building beloved community means committing service within your community and with each other. That means people are going to have to participate, not just lock arms and say we shall overcome. We're not going to overcome because we said we shall overcome. We're going to overcome because we did something for us to overcome. We're addressing our politicians, we're addressing our communities, we're addressing our jobs, that we need more diversity. We need more diversity training. We need more equity. We don't have enough Black people working over here. Why aren't the Black people getting treated a little bit better in the hospitals? Because we're asking questions, because we're putting our best foot forward and acknowledging and addressing the situation. Truth, beauty, and goodness. I keep saying, let's acknowledge the truth. And then we get to the beauty and the goodness. Then we get to the kumbaya moments and stuff. But we got to be truthful. And I can be truthful and smile about being truthful at the same time, without being angry or without being mad. I'm just like, here's the truth. This is how it is. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Before we lose you, I want to ask one last question.
Sure.
So we're talking about actually making a difference and how to take care of yourself while doing that. So how do we actually make a difference? I mean, you can just give us like a couple points as we wrap up the show, but how do we do that? I know that I'm on a mission to help rewrite the legislation that's inherently oppressive. Like, I think that's where a lot of it is. It's written there for years of our country. But how can our people watching, how can the people that will share this video, how can we actually show up, and without doing the whole like locking arms and say that we're going to overcome, but like actually do it? And how can we take better care of ourselves in doing that?
Great question. So one of the things that we've been offering as Walla Moms International is learning to lobby. And these wonderful women that I had met from within the group said, we will teach you how to lobby. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know anything about lobbying. I didn't know that we could do this. I did not know that we can contact our local legislators, write bills, and pass bills. And during those classes, they're like, okay, this is some really crazy stuff, because I can't do this within one class. So we were offering it every week. After the MLK, we're starting back up again on Monday evenings, and it's a free course. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, I didn't even know who all of my local people were. Your local senator, your local congressman, your state representatives, your people on your city council. Like, I've started attending city council meetings and stuff. And it's like, there's so much that people can actually get involved in with a simple email. Because from what I heard from them, it's like signing petitions are great. But when you send an email, they have to look at all the emails. They have to address them. They have to look at them, and they have to address them. And if you don't know what to write, ask us. We got a template. It's like, dear so-and-so, we would like to know, what are you guys doing addressing this, and that, So one of the things that I've been working with the local police in our city, and we became good friends after our protests, after having a couple protests. And I was like, what can we do? It's like, let's start small. I see there's been some policy changes, but what can we do regarding our special needs community? I don't know if you heard, but just yesterday, they called, and this is Black people's biggest fear, is like calling for mental health issues. They're like, don't call the police. And it's always like an underground thing. They're like, don't call the police, because if you call them for a mental health issue, they're going to kill them. And we told them when they called the police, they said, don't bring any guns, don't bring any guns, don't bring any guns. And you could just hear them shouting on the video after they shot the man 3 times because he was having a mental breakdown and they couldn't get a healthcare professional. They shot him 3 times and they said, we told you not to bring guns. We told you not to bring guns. We told you not to bring guns. So I said, if we can't get through all the policy changes, at least we could start here as far as like what happened with Elijah McClain. How are we dealing with our special needs community when the police are having their interactions? There are things that can be done. And this is something that's not a left or a right issue, because I met this police officer here in Portland who has a child who's autistic. And she's created this program where they could sit there and be able to identify that people just don't even know about. There's programs that we can do. There's programs that are happening all across the country in different cities, different laws, different states. So we can get involved. We can make better changes if we show up by either, if it's a simple email, if you want to know what you can do. Summer and I do the Bridging the Divide, the conversations between Black and whites, how we're bridging our conversations and how we're not understanding each other's cultures, why people are seem so upset. And it's like, it's not Black people are just always angry and mad. Sometimes they just hear that you're not hearing us. So if you're willing to hear us and take the step forwards, then we sit there and say, this is what we need you to do. We need you to sit there and say, like, what is the hiring at your job? What is it if you're a nurse, like a friend of mine, she's a nurse in a hospital in Colorado. They offer diversity and inclusion training, which has to be necessary. Why don't we have that across the country? There's so many different levels and ways that they can get involved and to help us build a beloved community. So and you don't even have to do it from leaving your own home or even leaving your computer. There's so many things that you can do. We can organize and grassroots all kinds of different ways. And then self-care is that for people who get very, very heavily involved, if you don't take time out for yourself, then it's just going to become overwhelming that changes are not happening fast enough, that nothing is being done quick enough, that we are still losing. And as you can see, ever since George Floyd, we've lost so many people still. And every single day we're turning on the TV, somebody's being killed or murdered or some injustice is happening. We still have a long way to go, but not to become overwhelmed by it, not to become depressed by it. Like I said, when I get angry, I get busy. They're not going to push me into a corner and then I can't do anything. It's just going to make me get even more involved. People call me racist for saying I want to speak about racial equality and about race, and because I'm like, see my color. Don't be colorblind. See me as a Black person or a person of color. Don't dismiss me and stuff. So I'm going to say, so self-care is like, recognize who you are, be committed to that, learn to love yourself, keep your prayer and meditation constant, communion, connecting with your higher self to make sure that you're always moving in the right direction, and not in the wrong direction, and not moving with anger or hatred in any of the work that you're doing. And you'll be surprised how far you can go and what you can achieve, even if it's just a little bit. A little bit is better than nothing. I can plant seeds now, and then 1,000 years from now, I will be able to see the works of the seeds that I planted. I don't have to see that tree in my lifetime. Just know that I planted them.
Beautiful. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Gosh, so much wisdom here. And I love, 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 love all the things you're sharing, because it's making it doable for each person that, we can all participate. And that's beautiful. It's such an invitation to move forward in that. Thank you.
Thank you. And one last message to the people out here in Portland. It is a day of service. So we're taking clothing items and we're also taking non-perishable foods. This goes and gets distributed throughout the community for the underprivileged families, as well as the homeless communities. These people are doing work every single day. They have committed their lives to serving the community. And then one of the other organizations is a Black economic literacy course. A lot of people don't know about Black investment, Black economics, different things like that. This is how we can support the community. So if you can, volunteer, show up, bring me a canned food, bring me some, even in my suitcase, I brought another suitcase full of clothes because I know it's cold up here. It's cold up here. They need clothes. They need sweaters. Women need nice clothes so that way they can go and get jobs. They need things that they can look presentable in. you know, so I can just give them all my old stuff. I brought stuff that I never even worn before. I look fly when I'm going out. So whoever's getting this stuff, you know, come and do something and be of service, you know, because you can, and you can participate, and we can show the world that good things and beautiful things are coming out of Portland too.
Can you tell me where, like, can you tell me the organization or where to find the link for that? Because I'm putting all the links that you've been sharing this whole time.
Oh, sure. It's right on our page, Walla Moms International. It's on our Facebook page. And if I'm not sure where you're dropping the link, but I can also drop them onto the Facebook links as well too.
I'm dropping them to the few pages, like I'm dropping them into the comments on the few pages that we're running. So as we're speaking about it, I'm just like bridging the divide.
Bridging the divide, yes.
Yeah, all of Moms International. And do you want me to invite them to the group or just the page itself?
Oh, they can join the page. Yeah, follow the page because it's really great with the information. There's so many people within the group. There's 15,000 people in the group. There's a lot of information. People might get a lot of overwhelming because even on my own personal page, they're like, all you do is post Black stuff. I'm like, I barely post Black stuff. I should post more. And now because you told me I post too much, I'm going to post even more. So the information, a lot of things that we want to get out there for the world to know is from the public page. Like and share, because that's also our Instagram and our Twitter. It's like, this is stuff that people can share with each other. This stuff is non-offensive. Nobody can be mad at this stuff. Nobody's, being negative or anything. It's just like, here are the issues that we want to address and that we want to talk about, and here's the good things that we're actually doing, because I really want to show people that we can do good things as well as address the bad things too.
Where can we drop off all their donations?
Portland? Well, I'm at the Crown Plaza on 2nd Avenue, but the event is actually in Irving Park on Saturday in Portland. So, and also we've created a GoFundMe just for the people for the food, because we have people who are cooking and donating food and stuff like that. We're not taking any stuff, but our WAMI Patreon, if people want to donate to our WAMI Patreon, I've set up a Patreon, but I haven't put much information on there. Really short-staffed here, but that link is up if people want to sit there and support the good work.
Did I hear a request there that you need some help?
Yes, always.
So if someone wants to help,
thank you for saying that. For the Walla Moms International, we do need help. Any women, any men, because I also have men as admins. I was like, I have to bring the Black male voice. It's important. It's important that the moms are standing up for our Black brothers and sisters, but their voices need to be heard as well too. So even though we are called Walla Moms International and it started because of the moms, this is something that's coming together for everybody. So anybody who wants to help me with social media, anybody who wants to work as an administrative assistant, who needs some interning experience and needs me to write a resume letter, or whatever, or help me post, any kind of help that they can offer, I will take it. I will take it. I will put you to work, if you got time, if you got a couple hours a day or a couple hours on a weekend or whatever, something just to help me get the word out, I can use that help.
And you'll be making a difference.
Yes, you'll be contributing. We're working together. All of us are working together.
Yes.
So how do they get in touch with you about that?
You can
on the Wall of Moms or any of the places that I've linked, you can just find Antoinette, right?
Yeah, because I since I run like 15 different pages, I'm the one who answers them all too.
You need to
see it. and also the email, the info. But I'm gonna go back through where you shared the link from. I should be able to see the share. So I'll just go back in there when I get off and just drop all kinds of information as well too. Yeah, and next time when we get together, I'll make sure I send you all the information ahead of time. That's where I dropped the ball. That was my fault. Because you told me.
There's no fault. And, again, the feminine flow, I just trusted.
Mm-hmm.
I just trusted. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have a safety net. And I'm also just going to trust that it's in divine. And I'm going to leave it open so that whatever is really, truly in our hearts today, because we're shifting into a very transitional period in not only this plane and the universe and in our beings. And I just really wanted to give it space to unfold as it would for all of us. And I think that it was divine.
It was. My husband says anytime that you do God's will, you know, they will move heaven and earth for you. You know, and all we have to do is just sit there and say, it's like, God, you know, a mother spirit, I'm calling on you for your strength and your courage. I'm calling on you to sit there and be present and to sit there and work through me for you, you know, for us, for all of us together and stuff. So when I'm depending on that, then I can't be let down. None of us can be let down then.
Exactly.
Powerful show.
So good. Thank you so much for your presence today and your love and all the work you do in the world. Like, you're incredible, and I just acknowledge you. I fully acknowledge you for your powerful intent and the desire of, you know, doing God's work through all the things you do, and like how impactful you are. And so thank you for everything you do and who you are and how you show up and how you serve. And you're radiant, you're a gorgeous queen, and so excited to know you and deepen our friendship and support your amazing work in the world and get the message out even further.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach Don. Coach Trish.
Yes.
Our cheerleaders. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Everybody needs some cheerleaders like you too.
Well, may we all be cheerleaders for each other and continue to be the light in the world. And our guest last week, she said, be the lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, I'm bringing the light. And I know that you are, and you are as well. And I hope that everyone watching gets really inspired by today's conversation and becomes a light in this world and signs up for the Wall of Moms and really helps move into the world while taking deep care of themselves.
Yes.
And each other.
Yourself. Mm-hmm. Water is life.
Yes.
Peace.
Have an amazing week, everyone.
Thank you.